Why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What's the point in living? Should I just yeet my computer out the window, tattoo YOLO on my forehead, and follow my true passion, underwater basket weaving? I swear there is a purpose to all these questions, and that purpose, the answer to my questions, is actually another question. Why do people care about Bee and Puppycat? Now, before you get mad, I'm looking at you, giant Bee and Puppycat fandom. Hear me out, because I bet you had these thoughts too in your own viewings. While watching this super chill, super beautiful show, I couldn't help but wonder if it was worth my time. Nothing really happens. There's no real drama, and everything is really just, well, chill. But therein lies the true answer to life. Nothing. Or at least that's what Bee and Puppycat would want us to believe. From the character Puppycat, an alien creature who basically falls from the sky to meet our protagonist Bee, to the fishwoman Golden Eyes, to Crispen's clown's beeping phone, to magical energy crystal tears, well, you get the idea. Almost everything in this show is just complete bonkers, and yet nobody seems to care. Characters barely react to the weirdness around them, which completely normalizes all of the absurdity. It's like if the ground opened up and pizza slices with legs started crawling out singing Hallelujah by Jeff Buckley, and everybody just acted like it was a regular day. This absurdity, however, is what makes Bee and Puppycat special. It's the crux of why it's become such a beloved show. And if we lean into the idea of absurdism, all of these questions that I asked literally 30 seconds ago, particularly the one about why people like Bee and Puppycat, start to disappear. Apparently, up to now, I've avoided ascribing an account of absurdism. Alas, allow an assertion avowing its advantage and appreciate its ass. Alliteration! Anyways, absurdism. Goddamn, now I can't stop. Absurdism is the belief that if we accept that life is meaningless and that everything is random, then we are truly able to embrace freedom and can experience happiness. In the words of the king of absurdism, Albert Camus, you will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you're looking for the meaning of life. And by stopping that search for what makes happiness, we're able to rebel against what society wants from us. We're absolutely free if we can accept that the world is unfree, therefore making our very existence an act of rebellion. Bee and Puppycat, by being the TV show equivalent of being stuck inside on a rainy day, listening to a lo-fi playlist in your comfiest of jammies, pushes its audience into the very act of rebellion that Camus wrote about. In the myth of Sisyphus, he questions the idea that Sisyphus, punished by the gods to eternally push the rock up the hill, is unhappy. Instead, Camus posits that if Sisyphus accepts the absurdity of his situation, that he actually is pushing the rock up a hill with a smile on his face. And Bee and Puppycat? Oh yeah, they really accept the absurdity. They accept it so hard that the viewer has no choice but to relax and embrace the ridiculousness that surrounds the show. It rebels by not having the audience think about the difficult topics or wonder why the main character has weird humanoid creatures living inside her, but instead has us face the bonkers world of Bee and Puppycat openly, with acceptance, and without question, therefore creating rebels of us all. It all began back in 2013 as a pilot episode on YouTube, which resulted in a Kickstarter campaign. I just love nerds coming together to make cool shit happen, don't you? Anyways, after a successful campaign that garnered more than $800,000, the OG Bee and Puppycat season aired on YouTube from 2014 to 2016. Bee and Puppycat then turned into a full-fledged Netflix series in 2022, where Netflix basically took the YouTube stuff, mashed it into 3 episodes, and then kept the storyline going. Sounds like a Netflix thing to do. And to support that, we're only going to be discussing the Netflix show in this video. If you got issues with that, comment below, but only after you like and subscribe. Natasha Allegri, the creator of the show, dropped out of college when she got the opportunity to work on Adventure Time, and now posts some really weird shit on Instagram.
Creation is an inviolate act, and those searching for the divine need not descend to hell for fuel. That's why I don't go to Denny's anymore.
Mood. Pendleton Ward, the Adventure Time creator, actually saw Allegri's comics on LiveJournal and reached out to her that way. For all you online content creators out there, there is hope. So where does that leave us? Always a creator and used to self-publishing comics via LiveJournal, the YouTube pilot of Bee and Puppycat was a natural next step in Allegri's creative career. Allegri states that its non-plot is essential.
I don't think I could ever tell an amazing plot-driven story, but I like small character moments. I like watching people talk, and I try to copy that.
So overall, Allegri chose to make a chill show on purpose. She didn't want a heavy plot or anything life-changing. She just wanted those simple day-to-day interactions to be the star of the show. Allegri definitely succeeded in focusing on the mundane, yet amazing parts of everyday life. And I honestly can't keep talking more about how this show feels without this quote, because it's just so bizarre.
The feeling I want people to feel is like when your dad out of nowhere says something really corny, but you know that he's really emotional and genuine in it. And you're embarrassed, but you're also like, oh my god, mwah! That's what I want it to feel like. I hope anytime anyone watches an episode, they call their dad.
Now, normally here I would spend a minute or so giving an overall summary of the plot. But nah, let's not summarize something that isn't plot-driven, but instead dive headfirst into Bee and Puppycat and how its absurdist nature is its saving grace. If you haven't seen the show yet, now is the time to buzz off because spoilers are coming. Also, call your dad. Or not. I'm not your dad. And so it begins, our descent into absurdity. Episode 1 starts off right away with a burst of aesthetic and a nod to its OG series on YouTube. Titled Again for the First Time, we get immersed into the world of Bee and Puppycat with a scene at a cat cafe. However, we are quickly rushed into the bonkersness of this show when one of the cats spits out a dead bird and mouse hugging, and Bee, in her old lady crotchety voice,
what a scary young old woman,
sadly states,
Wow, they must have really loved each other.
before getting distracted by the smoke alarm going off. And here we get our first larger piece of drama. We meet Deckard as he's burning down the cat cafe because he's attempted to bake. Even with the drama of the fire though, we get comic relief with an image of a cat pouring oil onto the fire, followed by Bee jumping into action to extinguish it. This is the catalyst for the existence of Puppycat in Bee's life. She gets fired by Howl, which once again might seem serious until you see how he fires her with this adorable little note and his angry face drawn on it. Afterwards, Bee feels the need to care for something, some creature, now that she's unemployed and therefore catless. This mixture of melancholy and ridiculousness is something that continues throughout the entire season. Even when we think shit went down, it didn't. Not really anyways. The drama that comes with the reality in our world, the one where I stood in front of a cheap green screen in my peepaw's basement, barely gets traction in Bee and Puppycat. Instead, it's like we swiftly solve a problem before moving on to something silly and soothing, like a drawing of an angry face, or a giant pile of poop on the crosswalk. And with that, our Bee and Puppycat poop counter is initialized. Already, not even 5 minutes in, we get the sense that this show is not going to be normal. From the ultra pastel colorization, the cutesy animation, and the upbeat lo-fi backing music, we are shoved into this low-key vibe that is unshakable. So, when a now jobless Bee wishes for a pet to take care of and Puppycat falls from the sky in glittery pink air, it really doesn't seem that strange that Bee doesn't seem to think it's, well, strange. Anyway, fast forward through some umbrella dick pain, which would be a cool band name, and nothing really happens. Get used to that. We get more funny bits, like Cass, the wrestler turned coder sister, thinking that Bee is dead when Deckard tells her that she was fired and terminated.
No. Oh.
Well, now that she's dead, rest in peace. Maybe you can go to Cooking Prince Academy this semester?
But then the weird feeling that something is off returns. Isn't it absurd that Cass thinks that Bee is dead and doesn't really care? She's basically this guy.
Oh, no. Anyway.
So the show is called Bee and Puppycat. Bee is clearly the protagonist here. Shouldn't Cass give a shit that she died? But no, because absurdism. Nothing matters and everything is random, remember? So why be shook by someone's death? Just accept it and move on. Whether this is soothing or terrifying in this situation, I'm still not sure. But what I do know is that the carefree nature of these small moments of melancholy and silliness are what make Bee and Puppycat worth watching. Because Lord knows when I watched this episode the first time, I was so fucking confused until I just went with it, in true absurdist fashion. That night, we get some hints about Bee and her past through some of the dreams about her new partner and this weird combo of Vatu from Korra and Lisa Frank characters. I don't know. Bee, now jobless, turns to the employment office of Turtle Greg, where she gets roasted ruthlessly, but obviously doesn't care because, say it with me, absurdism. And turtles. Seriously, why is it always turtles? When she returns home afterwards, we finally hear Puppycat's voice, which isn't human, but instead made by Oliver, a Vocaloid based on a choir boy. Vocaloids are a singing voice synthesizer that use voice banks from the sounds of real human voices. It gives Puppycat's voice both an alien and floaty sort of sound.
This is Snert.
Please don't me.
And it mixes perfectly with the lo-fi synth beats in the background. Puppycat finds the broke-ass Bee a job by jingling the bell on his collar. From there, they meet Timpbot, who almost kills Bee because she mistakes her for an intruder. They jump into Timpbot's mouth after getting their uniforms for Daycare Planet, where they're to take care of a giant baby.
Oh, never mind. It's just you, Puppycat.
Truly, this is art. Continuing on, the giant baby starts to cry, as babies do be babying, and Puppycat sings a song to calm him down. The song gives us images of his past as a betrayed outlaw. The color palette changes completely into something darker with blacks, grays, and deep purples that signal a shift for the audience. We already know that something is uncanny about Puppycat, but now we're being removed from the pastels and lo-fi sounds of Bee's world into Puppycat's moody emo era. Once again, we get a touch of plot and conflict before all that fades away with the end of the song. Back in the pastel present, that is Daycare Planet, we meet a hideous villain named Doublemouth. The fight scene that follows is incredible in a very Bee and Puppycat sort of way. From the intense fight music at the start of the scene to the very She-Ra sword reveal when Bee chimes her own bell, we get a lot of action. But we all know what happens in this show when there's conflict, right? Absurdity. Even when Bee tells the villain, "I'm going to kill you," a statement that some would consider serious, we get this.
I'm gonna kill you!
The scene ends with ominous hints for the future before the music changes back to its regular happy lo-fi as if nothing happened, as they return home through Timpbot's mouth. Finally, the episode ends with a flashback of Puppycat watching Bee when she was a toddler, and we learn that her dad, aka Bee Daddy, no one calls him that, was helping Puppycat fix his ship. This solidifies the idea that Bee is strange not only because she is who she is, but also because she may actually not be from this world. So, not gonna lie, at this point I was still unsure about Bee and Puppycat as a show, but I decided to have an edible, get nice and cozy, and just dive in head first. There were a lot of hints that there could be a plot coming down the line, with Deckard's dreams to be a great baker and Puppycat's outlaw past coming back to haunt him, and maybe Bee being an alien robot. But oh boy, was I wrong. Mostly. Before we get to episode 2, I want to pause for a moment to talk about how beautiful the aesthetics of this show are. Every episode has this ephemeral title sequence, and once I realized that, I looked forward to starting each episode just to see what the title screen would look like. It also untethers the audience before their descent into nothingness, reminding us that all of this is indeed intentional. It's a perfectly executed kind of absurd, you know? Episode 2 starts with Cardamon, their young neighbor, flipping through TV channels, and then we get our first introduction to Pretty Patrick.
Oh, a Pretty Patrick marathon! This is a great show.
And when Puppycat says he's hungry, she goes and grabs him some yogurts from her toilet. As one does. They accidentally turn off the power, but also turn on some sort of spaceship-looking thing, and now the quote-unquote conflict of the episode arises. I'm putting air quotes there for a reason because we're just shown this amazing-looking purple-pink spaceship that makes us ooh, ah, but the conflict of the episode, the real conflict, is about how much Bee and Puppycat just want to watch Pretty Patrick. These sorts of almost drama moments occur over and over again throughout the episode. We, the audience, want to know more about the spaceship, but no. Instead, we get smaller slice-of-life moments with touches of drama that never fully form. I guess it's okay though, because we get introduced to Sticky in this episode, who quickly gets adopted by Cardamon and becomes betrothed to Puppycat. We learn that Cardamon, the neighbor child, is a landlord as he makes the rounds coming for people's rent, even though he's just this cute little shit. It's definitely worrisome, and Cass does question it for a couple seconds before swiftly moving on in conversation as though it isn't weird at all. Having Cardamon act like an adult, or rather what he thinks a traditional adult would act like, while the actual adults are acting childlike, is an interesting juxtaposition to watch. His seriousness exposes just how absurd all the adults are in the show, exemplified by Toast.
That was the first time I met her. Toast.
I heard that you can tell how strong someone is by the number of enemies they have.
Cass explains that she no longer wrestles.
I sleep in a bed! I eat soup for lunch!
Soup?
All things that make someone grown up, I guess. Like, damn, if all I need to do is make sure not to pass out on the couch and eat gazpacho, then I'm grown as fuck. Thanks for the validation, Cass. Cass even goes into this huge backstory about her relationship with Toast and why she quit wrestling. But...
Cass, you've been mumbling for 3 minutes straight and I can't hear you over the sound of your scary friend breaking all our stuff.
She's not my friend!
Now, while Deckard f***ing up Cass's montage moment like that is hilarious, it also reinforces the idea that this show is truly about nothing, and that's okay. It's not meant to be taken seriously, it's just meant to be taken.
I want to run away. Unhand me.
It's kind of sad that Cass gave up on her passion after only one failure, but nobody in the show makes a big deal out of it. Sure, we could argue that Toast cares a great deal, which is why she... But nothing she does has any true impact, so does it really matter? Anyway, Bee and Puppycat need money again since Cardamon needs to fix their food-clogged toilet and bring their power back, and because Bee is surprisingly not a squatter, despite Puppycat's advice. So they get sent to 3 different planets to do their jobs. On the first, they need to fix a music box, and Bee briefly talks about how her dad gave her one as a child. Also, every time they mess up fixing it, the box makes fart noises. Just wanted to point that out. We get a montage of the other jobs, and on each planet, we start to see these weird, creepy hands pop up. Once again, a hint at a deeper conflict than not being able to watch Pretty Patrick. But still only a hint. On the last planet, Cat Bath Planet, Bee and Puppycat enter a very Spirited Away type bathhouse, where the patrons are all giant cats who want to cater to Bee. I think I had this wet dream once. It was wet because of the bath. And here, Bee finally gets to watch Pretty Patrick while all the cats creepily watch along. All is well until the crazy arms pop up once again.
That's gross, Puppycat.
Bee and Puppycat escape into Tempbot's mouth and return home where the power has been restored. The end of the episode is very somber, with Cardamon returning home after a hard day's work as a landlord. Some sort of plot for Deckard and his dream to go into culinary school that we mentioned in episode 1. Bee escapes to Tempbot with Deckard, who finally begins showing emotion and starts freaking out when they're teleported. We get a montage of Bee soothing him whenever he was a baby. Pretty interesting considering how young Bee looks and how she answered when Deckard asked her age.
Really old. Super old.
Maybe there's more to this. Tempbot conveniently sends them to a planet where magical donuts are made by Mully and his angry boss.
Listen, I have some very important business to take care of on the planet next door.
Did y'all really think there wasn't going to be a pee-pee poo-poo joke at least once in this entire episode? The donut planet serves to motivate Deckard to finally go to cooking school because we also see Deckard leaving the island by train. The credits roll with Bee and Puppycat joyfully dancing together at the arcade, with the seasons changing in the outro, signaling the passing of time before the beginning of the next episode. Episode 4 is aptly titled Gentle Touch, after Puppycat's amazing soft little paws. We start off with a flashback of Bee working at the cat cafe that serves as a way to show how literally everyone gets an IOU ticket from Bee. It also finally introduces us to the rest of the members of the wizard family. We already know Howl, the dude who fired Bee, Deckard, the failed baker, and Cass, whose wrestling dreams are deader than your grandma's teeth. But now we also get to meet Tim, Crispen, the clown boy, my personal favorite, and Merlin, who's apparently just returned home from medical school. The flashback ends with a snap of a family photo, which Bee joins in on, and we then get to see the letter that Deckard has written her from the Cooking Prince Academy. In the envelope is the famous IOU card that she gave him in the flashback. He's cashing it in at last so that she watches out for his family while he's gone. Very sweet, Deckard. Right afterwards, we get the beginnings of Puppycat's obsession with Wesley. The older wizard brother conveniently shows up at Bee's house so that Puppycat can fangirl over how cool he is. And of course, Wesley is also cashing in on one of Bee's IOU cards. The scene cuts to the three of them fishing in the ocean, while Puppycat idolizes Wesley for literally everything he does. Wesley also mentions something interesting about finding Bee's stuff in the water and how she has to get it sometime. I wonder if that'll be explained later. Wesley then convinces them to go to the cat cafe, where Bee learns of the poor state of the business since she left. It's enough to make the previously lazy Bee visit Tempbot to get a new assignment. However, the space TV lady warns them to be careful because there have been hands that have been ravaging planets. Interestingly enough, the planets that Bee and Puppycat have recently worked on. Hey, looky there! Plot, intrigue, direction. However, Bee and Puppycat aren't concerned with this, and they end up on a planet with these dog dandelion things that need to release their babies. Bee takes a picture of them because they're just so damn cute and sends it to Deckard, who seems to be struggling a bit at the Cooking Academy. During the text exchange, Puppycat is doing all the work by punching the baby floofballs.
Your punches are so soft. Thank you.
We then see the creepy, long black hands with some pretty dope-ass looking nails this time. But no matter, Bee and Puppycat escape as always. Back at the cat cafe, they're paid their literal coin, and Bee insists on giving it to Howl to take care of the cafe. It leads to a pretty heartwarming conversation.
I liked being bossed around by you. It was fun.
You should come by more often. It's always nice talking to you.
I'm moving my fish into the bathroom now.
The drama between them is basically washed away. We're going to speed things up from here on out. By this point, I had accepted and even come to love that the show rarely takes anything too seriously. It wants that slice of life feel while also maintaining its what the fuck factor that all combine to make it this absurdist trip. However, episode 5 gets a bit too weird. Normally, I'd love that, but here it kind of took me out of that warm and cozy lo-fi dreamscape. The episode starts in one of Bee's dreams, where she's free-falling through space when she gets attacked by a giant shadow cat thing. When she wakes up, we're immersed in the obsession that Puppycat has with Pretty Patrick Egg Adventure. The episode features multiple moments where Bee saves Puppycat's life and he still refuses to give her back her phone because Pretty Patrick is life. At the same time, Cardamon throws his mom's magical tears, which have multiplied like hippie rabbits in a midlife crisis, into the garden, resulting in weird effects with the plants. Where I start to feel kind of meh about the episode is when Toast arrives at the wizard house, seemingly to get Cass to start wrestling again. She gathers the wizard family in one room and announces that she's pregnant.
Even now in its fetal state, my pregnancy mocks you.
You're not gonna trick me into feuding with another baby again.
The moment sort of jolted me out of my cotton candy reverie. I mean, it's really shocking that such a silly show has a pregnancy like this. It feels very serious, but it hardly phases the characters. So far, I've enjoyed the absurdity of the show, but Toast's nonchalance about this pregnancy just feels kind of disturbing. She doesn't even properly know her baby daddy's name.
Merlin! Yes, it was Marvin!
Even though it's funny to watch the antics, it's off-putting that Toast got pregnant from a dude she doesn't even know the name of, uses that pregnancy to taunt Cass, and then the baby daddy Merlin runs away instead of holding himself accountable. Maybe I'm just being too harsh. For more reality hitting us in the face this episode, Puppycat drops some hard truths. Anyways, to help pay off the $500 Puppycat spent to advance in the Pretty Patrick game, they go to the Palm Island planet, which has the creepiest finger alien things, who eventually turn Puppycat into a sex worker by getting to touch his face for coin.
No, we don't need 10 more seconds. We're done.
Oh, and it turns out Timpbot has a huge thing for Bee's cell phone, though I have a feeling it might be unrequited love. Even though the episode felt off to me and not quite as aligned with the overall oeuvre of the rest of the show, the ending is pretty great.
Me gods and still lump.
Episode 6 truly shows Puppycat and Bee's dynamic as a partnership. Puppycat gets scared when he can't immediately find her, so he builds a whole-ass tracking device. Turns out she was at the store buying him a treat to show him that she cares. And of course, she picks the perfect treat, an egg in a bag. Back at home, something is off with Puppycat's breathing, so she tries to take care of him, but he acts all stoic. He even refuses to admit that he loves Bee and knocks the microwavable egg pouch out of her hands to show how mean and tough he is. This is basically the equivalent of when you're petting your cat's belly too much and they kick their back legs at you and dig in their claws. Painful, but cute.
Ow!
But mostly painful, though. Obviously, Puppycat regrets punching an egg behind the couch, so he goes back there, which eventually leads him to punching out the wall and falling through a hole in the ground, wrecking some pipes, and then leading to a basement where he discovers his spaceship chair. This brings up a bunch of questions. Why is it still in the basement? Why didn't Puppycat know it was there in the first place? Who even put it there? Spoiler alert, we're not going to get the answers. You'll accept it, and you'll like it. While all of this is happening, Cass is celebrating her day off from work.
And I'm getting out of here.
She spends her time finally getting to use literally all the face masks to ever exist on the planet, and basically turns into an even creepier version of No Face. Before, of course, Toast shows up once again and tries to challenge her.
What the?
The rest of the episode consists of a whole lot of absurdity. From Puppycat reviving a dead mouse by beating it up and finding a cool laser that will put him wherever he shoots, to Merlin using a frying pan to knock the masks off of Cass's newly zitted face, and even the realization that Cardamon knows about the Puppycat spaceship in the basement and uses it as a massage chair. The episode just throws everything at the wall and hopes that something sticks, as well as Puppycat's egg stuck to the plumbing. At this point, we're more than a third of the way through the season, and it truly felt like nothing could shock me anymore. I got pretty numb to all the weird stuff, almost to the point where it elicited an eye roll from me. Like, of course the cricket has a frowny face, but as shock factors are wont to do, that novelty kind of wears thin. It's like if you keep getting over and over again. Fun the first few times, but... And in a show that already isn't plot-driven, filler episodes just feel like pulling teeth a bit. Honestly, this is probably the harshest I've ever been about a show in this Unpacking series. Like, yeah, it's cute and all that, and I love seeing the antics that Bee and Puppycat get into, but eventually I just need more. That's why episode 7 felt so good to watch. We get more character development, more interaction, and the episode as a whole feels like Allegri is trying to make some sort of commentary on something. Sure, it's limited commentary, but that still opens it up to some more interpretation. Bee excitedly explains to Puppycat that today is a special day on the island, where they get to experience all 4 seasons in 24 hours. Yes, it does sound like All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, but not as depressing and actually awesome. After some cajoling and using Pretty Patrick and food as motivators, Bee convinces Puppycat to go to a special place on the island to experience the seasons. This leads us into the best part of the episode, Puppycat's outfit. He has a shirt that says Stinky Boy, which gets covered up by a sweater that says Smell Good Boy, and his motorcycle helmet, which says this. So many fart-related gift ideas in one scene. Unfortunately, after watching the seasons change, Bee's bike breaks down since it's filled with snow and violets. I don't have time. They start walking home with Bee carrying the motorcycle, as one does, but eventually stop because walking is so boring. Again, as one does. She decides that they now live in the forest and draws herself a house in the dirt, and then draws flames all around it.
I wasn't ready to own property yet.
She also draws food on the ground, which Puppycat starts to eat, cause sure, why not? Finally, she gets the idea to use Tempbot to get home. Poor Tempbot, always a bridesmaid TV, never a bride TV. However, Tempbot is sleeping, and because Bee values sleep so much, they decide not to disturb her, and instead stealthily jump into her snoring mouth and choose a planet that says it doesn't need work. They end up on what is basically Rainbow Road, with the star of the episode named Mr. Cup. Mr. Cup has lived on Racetrack Planet his entire life and basically races himself in ghost mode over and over again. The great tragedy of his life is that the best time he's ever had as a racer was when he cheated, and now he's too old to beat his cheater self to legitimately get the top time. Mr. Cup's shame seems to run deep and gives us a new emotion that hasn't been shown yet in the series. Normally, negative feelings get glossed over quickly in this show, but this episode not only puts a spotlight on them, it also gives us a resolution and somewhat of a redemption arc. Narrative. Plot. Without Bee and Puppycat coming to his planet, Mr. Cup would have been doomed to obsess over his past until he died. But because of Bee's silly ways, from her breaking his bike to her literally becoming his bike, he finally gets to win. It's not exactly fair and square since Bee cheated in order to beat the cheater, but, well...
Now we're cheating too! Cheating better than you!
Well, I didn't cheat. I was napping. I wanted my sleep.
Yay, technicalities! While all of this winning is happening, we get a glimpse of Deckard for the first time in a few episodes, now enrolled at Cooking Prince Academy. He's looking at his texts while studying recipes for cakes, and tries to text Bee a picture of them, but deletes it since he accidentally shows that he has a D- on his report card for baking. The inclusion of Deckard in an episode with Mr. Cup is, of course, purposeful. Mr. Cup literally lives in his regrets, and Deckard is perhaps going down that same path. It's almost like seeing him in the future. He was already scared to go to cooking school, and now that he's actually there, he is close to failing. Mr. Cup lived in his regret until he became old, and even then he straight up said that he didn't hire anyone to help. It's only through random luck that he's finally able to move past this embarrassment. Deckard isn't quite there yet in his journey. He's clearly ashamed, as evidenced by deleting the picture, but he can't move past it, yet. He also hasn't asked for help, and so is doomed to live in his shame until hopefully, if the parallel between them pans out, Bee and Puppycat are able to help him out of his funk. Anyways, the episode ends with Crispen being sent by Deckard to help Bee get her motorcycle back in this funny clown truck. He even offers to fix it for her, which Bee is cool with as long as he doesn't,
Please don't make it weirder with that clown stuff.
It's my art, don't tell me what to do!
Here we are at episode 8, the midpoint of the season. Although Allegri stated that she wanted the show to feel very slice of life, this episode starts with a huge background dump for Puppycat. Finally, am I right? Personally, I love Puppycat's voice, and I love that the episode started with another song from him. Also, I want to point out, if you haven't already noticed it, the soundtrack is fire. He sings about being an outlaw, running from planet to planet until he got tired of running. All the things that have been hinted at are now, through the magic of song, much more clear. It gives us a bit more plot and actual answers to our questions. We also get answers as to why those shadowy yet very well manicured hands end up attacking every planet Bee and Puppycat work on. And most importantly, at the end of the song, Puppycat sings that he has now found new friends. He finally admits that Bee is his friend. F*** the patriarchy, real men have feelings. When Puppycat wakes up from his dream sequence, he agrees to go to the beach with Bee and Cardamon, where they plan on dumping the magical tears that his mom has been producing in her sleep. Except things don't go quite according to plan. Puppycat gets in a fight with this weird cricket-looking thing.
No, you're ugly. Ugly. Ugly foot.
In an effort to protect his vanity, he winds up sinking to the bottom of the ocean, finding a spaceship. His spaceship. As he looks at it, vines shoot out of the ground and wrap themselves around his body. Why? Who knows? I'm just grateful we got some plot this episode. I don't need answers to everything. The vines have the same 5-pointed white flower that shows up over and over again throughout all the sequences that give background information on Puppycat. They're tied to the princess that he once loved. Also, white flowers normally symbolize new beginnings, purity, and innocence. Thanks, Google. So perhaps the flowers are a way of showing Puppycat's vulnerability and his need for a new beginning. As he gets lured into sleep by the flowers, we get a flashback of how he became a space outlaw. Once again, it's really refreshing that we're finally getting info on what the heck is going on here.
Just what the heck is going on?
Gosh.
Essentially, we find out that Puppycat was bullied by his teacher, Doublemouth, who we saw in an earlier episode. His friend Violet beats the heckin' heck out of the teacher for being mean to Puppycat, and they run away, becoming candy-hunting space outlaws, the most badass, masculine type of outlaw. The flashback elicits deeper questions about society, something that's rare in the series. Questions like, is Puppycat wrong for becoming an outlaw when he was clearly bullied and misunderstood? Are people who turn to crime because of the terrible shit happening to them in life truly criminals? Is Puppycat guilty when he needed to become an outlaw to survive in the world? Do you really need to call the cops on the lady hiding soup cans in her jacket at the supermarket? Throughout the series so far, Puppycat isn't portrayed as some sort of terrible monster who deserves punishment, and it's even kind of hard to imagine him as a successful outlaw. As Puppycat and Violet get older, they add more members to their candy hunting team, like a little baby boy who's apparently a genius inventor.
By adjusting the settings, you can lower or expand the frequency of the energy.
We also find out that candy is made out of pure energy, and the candy that they're hunting down is the same that Bee gets for her birthday in her magical box. The connections are really interesting, that Puppycat used to hunt for what is gifted to Bee every year, and that the gift is pure energy in a cute candy package. It also makes sense that Puppycat never wanted any of the candy himself because he was scared it would make him explode. Also, we get the idea that the baby genius inventor is the one that created Bee in the first place.
Don't ever stop making us these cute inventions to use on people. I love you.
Swearing.
Although it's left ambiguous exactly how the candy is used throughout the universe, it is clear that it's highly sought after, and that their little ragtag team used to be really good at hunting it down. The episode ends with Bee going into the ocean to find Puppycat asleep amongst the white flowers. He awakens on her couch and draws the flower in his dream journal before pulling one out from his nose, I guess. He tries to bury it, but it just turns black and dissolves in the wind. In the same way, he tries to bury his past and connection to the princess, yet it doesn't stay buried. Something, grief and trauma. So after such a heavy plot-driven episode, of course the following one is back to absurdity and lighthearted jokes. It starts by showing Crispen working to fix Bee's motorcycle, which we later learn that he built in the first place. While watching Pretty Patrick's lunch special, which is a hard thing to say, Puppycat finds out that not only does Pretty Patrick have a baby,
where do you just get a baby in the middle of summer?
But he's also returning to the island and somehow is also the mayor?
Boy, that escalated quickly.
He also has a beard now, so Bee considers him
perfect, Patrick.
His final form. Puppycat is hella upset though because of the baby situation, so he plans on going to the radio station to pull a parent trap and take the baby's place. Once again, how is he a space outlaw? Like, what? When they get to the train station, Puppycat's dreams come true. He fangirls over the dude completely, and Pretty Patrick even picks him up and puts him on his shoulder, causing Puppycat to literally vibrate with glee, as one does. Then we finally get the return of the poop jokes when Puppycat accidentally launches Pretty Patrick's wallet out of his butt pocket into someone's giant mouth.
You know, I could have it back to you in a day or two.
It's okay. You can keep it.
On second thought, that's a long time. Dude needs some fiber. But Puppycat feels bad about the incident, so he decides he and Bee need to work ASAP. They go to a psychedelic planet called Vacation Island where the boss, named Ross, has clear favoritism towards one of his triplets. There's some dark stuff going on here about parenthood and how it affects childhood development. Psychedelic creeper Ross even goes so far as to say that his favorite kid will probably turn out terrible one day, while the other two kids will be great because they have to work harder for people to care about them. Like, damn, Natasha. Obviously, the Black Shadow Hands show up once again and start f***ing things up. This time, though, we get to see what happens when they leave a planet. It's super exciting because in episode 8, we got reasons as to why Puppycat would be hunted, but now we get snippets of exactly who those hunters are. They belong to a group of Warlocks, likely the very ones who cursed Puppycat in the first place, who stand around a circle of magical black goo that allows them to stick their hands in it to travel to different planets. as one does. By the way, the leader of the Warlocks is voiced by none other than ContraPoints herself from YouTube.
Why the didn't they invite me?
Anyway, the Warlocks talk as if their hunt is just another day at the office, just doing what the boss tells them to. In the same way I questioned Puppycat's guilt based on his background, we can question the framing of the Warlocks. Should we really be creeped out by them when we know that all they're doing is motivated by the job? Like, they don't even really care about getting Puppycat necessarily. They're just trying to clock in and clock out like the rest of us. Yet, at the same time, they are at least trying to hurt someone by unquestioningly following orders. Historically, this leads to a pretty bad time. In the end, after escaping the planet, Puppycat ends up buying Pretty Patrick a new wallet and sticks pictures of himself inside like a proper obsessed fan. And then we see that he also got Bee an eggplant-shaped side purse.
You love me.
Yes.
I love you too. I love this purse! Ah!
Yes.
We don't take it seriously though. His tough guy facade is so clearly fake. It's like in the last episode when we get the flashback of Puppycat and Violet running away. He tries to act all stoic, but we see that he's really just as big a ball of floof on the inside as he is on the outside. Now, episode 10 made me realize that I need Puppycat in my life, and I honestly didn't think I'd ever feel that way. Okay, who am I kidding? Just look at this little guy. The episode starts with flashbacks to months before when she is clearly and obviously hinting to Puppycat about what she wants. That is, a lot of cakes, and that she wants them to be hidden for her throughout the day. It's a little unhinged of an ask, but also, hidden cakes? Sounds pretty awesome. Then the day comes. Despite his attempts to appear aloof, we all know he remembered. His care for Bee has been made clear at this point. First, she finds a flying cake in her apartment, and then another non-flying variety in the shape of a foot underneath her doormat. Puppycat is a cute little spy popping up in the background as she finds cakes everywhere. There's even one acting as a shell for a snail. The facial animations in this episode are so expressive, and even as the music is telling us that this is absurdist, nothing matters, business as usual, we really feel what she's feeling because of them. Up to this point, Cardamon is giving composure and authority, basically acting like a grown-ass man, taking the role of landlord when his mother sleeps. Shouldn't she be at a hospital or something? In this episode, however, there's a crack in that persona when Bee asks him what he plans on doing with all of his mother's tears.
I'm a kid. Why don't any adults think this is weird? This isn't normal. Why aren't any adults helping me?
He's just a kid, and yet he realizes his situation isn't normal. These questions are valid in the real world, but in the context of Bee and Puppycat, they're just jarring. It's these little incongruous details that momentarily shock us out of the lo-fi spell the show has cast and make us question exactly what the fuck is going on.
Why are you asking me? I don't know anything.
Right before falling back under. We know that the adults in this show are absurd. They're mostly chill about everything, and things that would seem bonkers in the real world are not bonkers to them at all. And now we have Cardamon, a little boy questioning all of that and wondering why the adults are the way that they are. But it's also clear that Bee is not equipped with the maturity to handle the issues that he is having. This is proven when she bulldozes his very valid feelings and just takes him to the arcade rather than, helping him. It does placate Cardamon for a while though, and eventually they return to his house after he falls asleep. All the while, Puppycat is continuing to hide cakes for Bee to find because he is incredible, as previously established. Bee comes up with the idea to dispose of the tears in space, so they go to Tempbot and get a job on Bull Planet to wash dishes. It turns out they aren't needed for that, but instead to help a robot named Sugar Cube Face by keeping them company. Eventually, Puppycat convinces Sugar Cube Face to buy the tears.
It's worth a lot, probably.
At the end of the episode, we get another clue about what Bee is when the box that gives her candy on her birthday, a la episode 3, says that it will explode at midnight, and then says hi to Puppycat after he prevents the explosion. Of course, all of this is treated with the appropriate level of mild interest. Now, the previous episodes have all been leading us towards some sort of breakthrough between Bee and Puppycat, and episode 11 is the culmination of that. Bee wears her love and appreciation for Puppycat on her sleeve. Conversely, he tries so hard to maintain his stoic male exterior while secretly loving her back. I mean, only the best of friends would hide a bunch of cakes for you to find on your birthday to make all your dreams come true. Let's be real. We find Puppycat acting a fool by stress eating literally everything in sight. And every time he eats something that he isn't supposed to be eating, his body turns into a shape it really isn't supposed to be, like a seal. Although seals are Bee's favorite animal, it still freaks her out to see her friend looking so unnatural. She goes to get help from Cass, who Bee considers the smartest person she knows, and she figures out that burping Puppycat causes him to go back to normal.
All right, then, I did it. See ya.
Yet he still refuses to stop eating random shit that he finds, even when he agrees to take on a new job to help pay for a new laptop for Cass. Tempbot sends them to a planet full of telepathic snails, but the creepy black Warlock hands show up once again and begin wreaking havoc.
Puppycat, do you no more eating stuff off the floor?
So I guess the moral was to just keep eating random shit even if your body is sending you "that's not okay, man" signals? Or am I just naive for trying to find a moral at this point? Bee works hard to try to help Puppycat turn back into his normal body. The telepathic snails try to read his mind to see why he's eating so much, but Bee blocks their freaky telepathic rays.
Don't tell me. His reason for stress eating is his secret. He'll tell me if he wants me to.
Well, we'll at least tell you that what he ate was an old sack.
Like a true friend, she honors the fact that he is allowed to have secrets. This is actually very heartfelt and genuine. She also reassures Puppycat, telling him that there's nothing that he could say that would make her change her feelings for him. Bee even shares her own secret.
Because I'm kind of dumb.
Afterwards, he starts crying these giant tears and blubbers about feeling guilty for their constant troubles with the hand. The entire time, he's been stress eating because of his feelings, but was scared to admit it for fear of losing her. It's so sweet and vulnerable of Puppycat to finally open up, and it shows an entirely new level to their relationship that we hadn't seen yet. And of course, his confession helps him burp and turn into a normal size so that they can finally go home. The episode ends by wrapping up the Cass-Bird love affair that I didn't even bring up, but was really weird.
Well, I had my first kiss today.
Well, I don't think that counts since birds don't have lips.
Huh, that's true. You're pretty smart.
Cardamon then reveals Sticky's weird underground jail where he's been keeping other birds for some reason.
Most of them are innocent. Most of them.
Ending the episode with some absurdity to lighten the mood. Finally, we make it to the Crispen episode, which quite clearly is my favorite episode of the entire season, and I was super pumped to finally get to talk about it. Why is it my favorite episode, you ask? Well, one word: clowns. No, I will not elaborate. The episode begins with Bee and Puppycat working at a clown planet, and Bee thinking how she would love to show it to Crispen. Up to this point, we've barely learned anything about him, but he ends up being important to Bee and has a fascinating backstory in his own right. This transitions into a voiceover story from Cass where she explains to Toast why the wizards make such a big deal about Crispen's birthday. Apparently, the entire family forgot one year, so he ran away from home and joined a circus for 10 years, as one does. So now they have to throw him a surprise party, emphasis on have, as they're doing it out of a feeling of obligation, not love. This story instantly makes clear the reasoning behind Crispen's obsession with clowns after it just being a weird quirk throughout the rest of the season, as they accepted him when he felt his family didn't. He made Bee's motorcycle clown-themed. He has a clown watch, and his clown phone makes honking noises when he presses on stuff. This clown pulsion is actually based on deep abandonment issues from his family, and then being raised by a circus in the formative years of his life. Kind of sweet and sad in a weird way. So it perfectly fits in with the rest of the show. When Crispen returns home from his mechanic shop, he sees his family planning the surprise for him, so he grabs his clown baseball bat and goes in to fuck shit up.
Showtime! Surprise!
And then Bee and Puppycat show up. Now, up to this point, we don't see a lot of romance or sexuality in the series. I mean, yeah, we know that Merlin got toast preggers, so we can assume adult things do happen, but...
Then help me perform a demonic ritual to increase my strength tenfold?
Okie dokie. So when Bee wipes frosting off of Crispen's face and we get a close-up of the two of them very close together, we get our first hint. I'm personally not sure how I feel about this, since Bee is implied to be very old and has been with the wizard family for a long time, since Crispen was a baby. It's kind of like you dating your great-aunt or something. It's also weird just to see Bee having a potential love interest, since she doesn't normally think deeply about, well, anything. I'm not trying to say she isn't capable of love, but can it really be a great love when she still stores food in the toilet? Isn't this just a reverse Lolita? All valid questions. But let's just move right on past all that shit, because Bee tells Crispen she wants to take him somewhere, which he calls out as being a date. Bee is super awkward about it, but apparently Crispen has had a thing for her for a while. So they go to the clown planet and have the best montage date ever, and a seriously ill Puppycat is there too. Crispen shares with Bee that he appreciates the date specifically because she knew he would like it, versus what his family does, which is more about making sure he doesn't leave again. This says a lot about Bee and how genuine she is. Yeah, she's weird as hell, but Puppycat and Crispen both value that Bee understands them for who they actually are and not how other people see them. She might not be the best person to talk about an existential crisis with, yet she is clearly one you can depend on for support and acceptance. In Absurdism, if one accepts everything as it is, they can be truly happy. Similarly, Bee accepts everyone at their truest self and loves it all. No wonder Crispen has the hots for her. At the end of the day, Crispen and Bee take care of the sick Puppycat and fall asleep on the couch while watching TV. It's pretty adorable. In the morning, he apologizes to Cass and tells her that he's sorry that him being a dumbass kid makes them feel like they have to throw parties for his birthday every year.
I just want you guys to spend time with me because you want to.
Well, I mean, it's both.
It's a really poignant way to end the episode, especially when thinking of the complexities of family and friend dynamics. Crispen doesn't want to feel like an obligation to his family, he just wants a family that knows him and appreciates him for who he is. Ross from episode 9 talks about how his favorite kid will end up a war criminal because he's spoiled. And now Crispen discusses how he wants to be thought of by his loved ones. And all the while, Bee's just chilling while her dad lives in a box that gives her energy candy on her birthday. I don't know what to do with that. So after all these great episodes with character background and growth, we get to episode 13, which honestly felt like it was backtracking a bit. And then I remembered that this is kind of the point of the show, the whole randomness and unpredictability thing, so I just accepted it. I truly entered a state of absurdist zen, not dissimilar to gooning. So basically, episode 13 is about Wesley getting his favorite lure back and Puppycat doing the potty dance. Yes, folks, it is the return of the poop jokes. Thank God. A lot of weirdness happens at the beginning to set up the plot. It's Howl's birthday. What's with all the birthday episodes, by the way?
What if I was actually doing bathroom stuff, huh?
Cass gifts him a wish crystal figurine that she made herself. I get that homemade gifts are special or whatever, but this is truly a shit gift. Sorry, not sorry. It ends up being taken by Wesley when he goes fishing later because he thinks it could be a great lure. It then, in turn, gets eaten by a special golden eyes fish, which in turn saves Wesley from drowning a la Little Mermaid and sort of becomes his girlfriend for the day. Now obviously Wesley takes them home with him and gives her his clothes and walks around in boxers and socks himself. Bee and Puppycat wake up after partying super hard at the cat cafe, and Puppycat needs to take a shit real bad. He is sweaty and potty dancing and generally looking like I do after eating Taco Bell and ice cream. Meanwhile, the main duo go to the toilet planet.
I'm not a dookie shoveler, I'm a temp.
Toilet planet, toilet planet.
And Puppycat finally gets to take the Browns to the Super Bowl. He gets to, quote-unquote, go on Reddit. He gets to log out. And we, the audience, get to watch it happen. Get to. The episode ends with Golden Eyes returning Wesley's lost lure and thanking him for the terrible date because
that was the worst date I've ever been on. And if that's what humans do on land, then I'm glad I live in the ocean.
Going back to the idea in episode 12 of the deep ways our families can impact us, episode 14 mainly focuses on Cardamon's whole, thing. And knowing what we know about him and his little meltdown in episode 10, one can easily assume that this episode is going to be a little depressing. And yeah, it totally is. Even the episode is titled, Why Don't You Help Me? Oof.
That's rough, buddy.
Cardamon has been forced into maturity because of the situation with his mother, vis-a-vis her coma, and that makes it difficult for him to bond with other children his age. He's only 7, and it seems like he has no friends at school, and he gets in trouble for being condescending to the few kids he does interact with.
This isn't a prince. They're construction toys. You skipped 2 grades. I'm embarrassed for you.
It's straight up upsetting to watch him struggle with his peers. He finds a bunch of notes on his door when he goes home from school because vines have grown into the plumbing. When he sees the mess he has to deal with, he starts to crumble under the weight of everything he's been carrying on his shoulders. So Bee helps him out, for discounted rent, of course, and later finds him asleep on his stoop because he was so tired he couldn't even make it to his bed.
Wow. I forget that he's not an adult sometimes.
The whole situation is just super fucked up, yet even when the show digs into darker subjects, it still treats them with a floaty, detached air. And of course, it's all interspersed with lighter fare, like the handsy Warlocks bickering with each other and basically admitting to be Nepo babies.
We got these jobs because of our dads. And we'll never be fired.
At the beach the next day, Cardamon and his classmates are on a field trip, and none of the kids want to play with him. They even give him a nickname.
Thanks, but we don't need your input, Cardamon.
Kinda mean, but actually, I'd like it. They bully him and push him around until Bee and Puppycat come to save him from the vines that trapped him in a grotto after helping out on Heartbreak Planet. Did I read that? Yep, okay, that is what happened. While Bee and Puppycat are saving the kids, the creepy black hands come in once again to try to destroy everything, which obviously doesn't work because the Warlocks are idiots.
I want to draw 2.
No.
The episode ends with Cardamon communicating with the vines and saving everyone, which the other kids agree is cool. It's a relatively sweet ending for him, and he's finally somewhat accepted by his peers. He seems to be on the edge of a panic attack throughout the episode, which felt way too real and sad, especially, again, considering he's only 7. It seems like the vines are a metaphor of this anxiety and panic, and that they slowly encroach over his life and start to constrict around him. Though at least he does gain a brief reprieve from this at the end of the episode. As much as I love Bee, as evidenced by how she is with Crispen and Puppycat, it's hard to see her act so immature in the face of Cardamon's situation. Because she takes people at face value, she doesn't understand that Cardamon is literally crying for help. So she just stands there like a dumbass. It kind of ruins her character a little bit for me, but I totally get how that is me projecting my own feelings about parenthood and the adultification of kids in our society. And for this episode to be so close to the end of the season, I don't know, it made me feel a little weary for what ideas were being set up for the final 2 episodes. In episode 15, the penultimate of the season, we get the return of Mully. It starts with us seeing what happened to Mully after he got taken by the creepy black hands in episode 3. He eventually was released by them and is basically just floating alone in space until the hand reappears. Rather than drift alone forever though, he remembers the band-aid on his hand is from Bee and uses his powers to travel to her, who just found out that she and Puppycat need to be retrained before they can work another job.
Great. Look at that. It doesn't exist anymore, and we'll probably never hear about it again.
Like a true adult, Bee avoids the training like the plague and uses Mully's visit as a convenient way to get out of it. The episode follows the two as they work odd jobs around the island in order to get some money to fix the wall Mully broke when he appeared. First, they do a terrible job of helping Wesley clean up the cat cafe because Mully's fingies are too big. Then they help Cass get more energy drinks for a delivery fee. Cass, continuing her proclivity to be the only person around, calling shit out as she sees it, tells Bee that she doesn't care that she never ages, or has a friend who clearly isn't human.
And how you haven't aged in forever, and now you have a weird friend who's obviously not a human. But now that I'm getting a ton of stuff I want, I guess I don't care.
Honestly, fair. Later, Mully goes with Bee to her special spot on the island, where she hung wish crystals. Mully recognizes them and explains that wishes only come true if she eats a whole crystal, and that eating only a piece results in weird shit. As the sun sets, the ocean starts to glow because of Bee's old belongings left in the water that she's been avoiding this entire season. She tells Mully that she isn't in a rush to get them back.
I literally have all the time in the world. What's the rush, you know?
This, along with Cass's comment, really cements Bee's inhuman nature. It also makes me wonder what Bee's life was like before the island, since it seems the reason she's avoiding recovering her stuff is that she doesn't want to leave. She says she avoids going into the ocean because she doesn't like water, which is definitely strange because she can breathe underwater and we have seen her do it. Towards the end of the episode, they find Cardamon asleep outside again, and Mully helps bring him into the house, agreeing to take the tears away. He leaves after making a bracelet out of the wish crystal umbrella so that he can find his way back. The final scene of the episode is Bee reluctantly diving into the ocean with Puppycat to retrieve her stuff. Just as we revisited a character and a story from the series past, Bee too revisits her own history, and at the end decides to confront it. The final episode drops an insane amount of cliffhangers, but also gives a lot of vague answers that we've been dying for the entire season. Basically, it finally decides to have a plot. Okay, maybe that's a little hyperbolic, but only a little. The episode begins with some much-needed Deckard time. Unfortunately, he is still flunking at baking and decides to quit the cooking school to go back home.
I came here to make cakes, not friends.
You know you can do both, right?
Interestingly, though, the guy with Riz from episode 10 takes a notice and liking to him and decides to help make him a better baker. Proclaimed as the cooking prince, he is put off by Deckard completely giving up, so he follows him back to the island. Feels like there's a romance brewing here, but unfortunately we don't get to see it. In the previous episode, Mully agreed to get rid of the tears for Bee, and he does so by traveling to the Warlocks and disposing of them there. This is a mistake though, because they invade his body with their hands by shoving them into his eye sockets and mouth. It's actually really disturbing to see, but the tension is lifted by a good butthole joke.
Well, are you gonna help?
There's no more holes.
What? Yes, there are.
I'll supervise.
Meanwhile, Bee and Puppycat continue to work together to get all of her stuff from the ocean to finally fix up her spaceship. Bee ends up leaving to help Mully, who has been transported back to the island while still being possessed by the Warlocks. And then finally, we see Cardamon's mom wake up. The downside, or maybe upside, is that Puppycat gets his magical ring back, which we first saw in episode 8, and things start to get insanely windy as we soon find out that the island isn't an island at all, but actually a spaceship. Very Final Fantasy VIII of them. Elsewhere, the possessed Mully rips open and disposes of her body in the ocean, but not before the small creatures that live inside her jump out and into Mully's body. Now, we've seen these creatures a few times up to this point, but it's still weird seeing them have a mind of their own and, for lack of a better term, disembark so casually. Nobody really seems heartbroken to see Bee's body fucked up either, not even when Mully gets saved by Puppycat in a smaller spaceship and naked Bee bodies come out of Mully's eye sockets. At this point, though, are we really surprised? Well, I mean, yeah, actually, kind of. The entire time I was just watching and thinking, what is happening? Okay, I was doing that pretty much every episode, but now I was thinking about it with emphasis. At least Cardamon's mom woke up though, right? Cardamon is obviously relieved by her presence and cries like the little baby he is when she picks him up in her arms. It's nice seeing him let the air of adulthood slip. Coma Mommy then gets to work and drops a lot of exposition. It turns out she is Violet, you know, the other space outlaw that helped Puppycat run away back in episode 9. She confronts Puppycat at the beach and says that she needs to find Bee's dad to clean up the mess that was made. She also tells everyone that if they want to stay on the planet, they better jump off the island and swim back to the mainland and tie themselves down. But we see Merlin, Toast, and their twin babies, along with the entire rest of the wizard family, clearly choosing not to leave. Puppycat gets the island ready to move back into space, and he finds Bee's body surrounded by her other bodies on the beach. The Warlock hands return one more time, but can't get to the spaceship/island since it's already moving and airborne. And that is how the season ends. One giant cliffhanger. So to recap the episode, we find out that the island is actually a spaceship, that Cardamon's mom is Puppycat's partner in crime, Violet, that Cardamon Awakening was an accident.
I don't know how he got out, but we're both going back to sleep now.
That Bee's dad is the key to fixing everything, though we aren't sure what that means at all, and that Bee's body is just a vessel for other Bee-like bodies. What does any of it mean, though? It's unclear, and nothing is actually resolved at the end of the season. We get answers, but they only lead to more questions. Like, why is B's dad so important? Is he actually in that magical birthday box? Is that supposed to be a secret? What happened to Mully? Will he recover? Will the Warlocks ever give up hunting for Puppycat? And who's their boss? Will Deckard and the Cooking Prince end up together? And the most important question of all, will there be a season 2? Or 3, I guess. Sadly, as of now, there's been no greenlight announcement, and that's why I decided to make an unpacking about it, bucking the tradition of only doing shows that are for sure done. Regardless, fans are super hopeful, especially since Toho, the Japanese production and distribution company responsible for Godzilla among other large properties, bought a 50% stake in the show. More recently, there was an announced collaboration with MXM Toon, a musician who in December 2023 wrote a song called Cliché. It's pretty great, you should go check it out. I mean, why create new content and leave everything on a giant cliffhanger if there wasn't something new coming down the pike? Fingers crossed, because I need answers. Overall, Bee & Puppycat was certainly a journey to watch, even if there wasn't much of what we would consider plot or character development throughout. Each of them end up pretty much exactly where they started the season, except that Where is now in a freaking spaceship. Instead, its nothingness created just the chillest watch. The appeal is in the aesthetic and the mystery. The animation is truly unique, feeling like a natural fusion of American cartoons and anime, but with a different approach than something like Avatar or Castlevania. The music evokes a dreamy quality that makes this an excellent show to put on if you like sleeping with the TV playing. Like I said, it's basically the equivalent of a lo-fi rainy day playlist while you're wrapped up in your nicest snuggie. If you buy into my idea of absurdism and embrace the randomness that came with each episode, the way that several of the characters did, then you were super happy with how the show made you feel, even if you didn't quite get it. Personally, I was in that camp after my first watch. I ended the season the first time wondering what the hell was going on. Yet somehow I still enjoyed the experience. If nothing else, it's a really interesting experiment, fiddling with the format of a TV series. It's not that other shows never tried similar things as Bee & Puppycat. Instead, it's the sum of the ideas that make it singular. Anyways, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it or hated it, please comment, let me know. If you want to support the channel, you can do so on my Patreon like these fine folks, or by subscribing and hitting like and all the things. Also, I'm no longer on Twitter, but you can now follow me on Instagram to get silly updates, pictures of me in the wild, and all the things. You can also join my Discord and chat with me there. Until next time. I also want to give a special thank you to Kathy Mueller, Starry Night Skies, John Ward, and Moody for becoming my latest patrons. As the kids say, you ate. I'm gonna go now.